Thank you, everybody, and hello to everybody online. Thank you so much. I want to start by saying how honored I am to be here and that I recognize the world-class university in which we are sitting, world-class education, as well as a beautiful campus. I had the pleasure of walking this morning around your beautiful campus. And Taiwan, of course, has a world-class educational system. Thanks to people like Professor Lee, Taiwan is recognized as a leader in MOOCs around the world. So I want to share with the greatest modesty some trends in the United States, some ideas. I hope we can have a discussion. I do not want to put forward the idea that we know the correct way. We are here, thinking about partnerships and dialogue. So with that, let me start. I'll go very quickly through the beginning. First of all, on behalf of Open Education Global, the global organization for promoting OER, I want to thank you for being a member of Open Education Global. You can see here that its mission is to promote and advance open education around the world and to empower all learners through open education. There are 360 members around the world. And of course, TOCEC is a valued member. The leadership has asked me to bring their thanks to you for your continued membership. Open Education Global focuses on 3 areas: field building, helping to develop the field of open education; knowledge exchange, the type of activity we're doing now, we're exchanging knowledge; and value co-creation, creating value. For example, on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see developing a network of open organizations, working closely with UNESCO to promote the UNESCO OER recommendation, hosting an open education policy forum, and hosting open education for a better world. So we know that over the years we have had colleagues from Taiwan join these activities, and leadership of Open Education Global hopes that we will continue to see Taiwan participation in these activities. Today, we'll talk about the following topics. Quickly identify some trends in the changing landscape of U.S. higher education. Also, spend a little bit of time talking about training programs for online and open education. A little bit of time talking about how delivery formats are changing. In 2019, life was simple. We had online, we had MOOCs, we had in-person. Now we have a million different formats. I'll talk a little bit about that. And then I hope we can spend more time talking about AI. I know we have experts in the room, computer scientists who understand this, but understand the technology better than I do, but also as educators. What do we do as educators about AI? Quick note about vocabulary. I will probably mix up my words. I will say distance education, distance learning, online education, and online learning. I mean the same thing. I will also say academics, faculty, instructors. I mean the same thing. You, all professors, all of us. And then college, university, higher education. Yes, there are some fine detailed differences, but generally, all of us engaged in higher education. Let's start off by recognizing change is everywhere, right? Change is the only thing that always is happening. So it's a funny characteristic, higher education. We all become educators because we want to learn. We want to change our minds. We want to grow. But our institutions, I say from one dean to another dean, our institutions are very conservative. Our institutions do not change very quickly. So how is the landscape of U.S. higher education changing? This is a graphic illustration of 2019 compared to 2020, the number of institutions that we're offering. No online classes to the number of institutions where all classes were online. I know Taiwan did not make the great transformation as much as the rest of the world did, but this certainly shook higher education in most of the world. We also know that university leadership still does not believe in online education. This is from a survey of university presidents. University presidents think that in-person teaching is better than online teaching. So university presidents, 67% say in-person teaching is excellent, but only 21% of university presidents say online teaching is excellent. There might be many reasons for that, but the reality for professors is that they're teaching in every delivery format in the United States now. In the top, you see 2019, 96% of professors were teaching face-to-face. At the bottom, 2022, you see that there's a great mix, a greater mix. So our professors are working harder, they have to learn more, they have to adapt quickly, and maybe the universities are supporting them. Maybe universities are training them, maybe not. But we see some really interesting differences here. Students, their perception or their opinion of online teaching got better. So at two-year institutions like College of the Canyons, four-year universities, almost half of students have a better opinion of online learning now than they had before. So we have this difference between university leadership and the students and the reality for professors. So we know the result for this is enrollments are going down. There's one exception, that is elite institutions, Harvard, Stanford, Chicago. They're fine. They get all the students they want. But every other type of institution, every other type of college and university in the United States, the enrollments are down, down, down. One reason, of course, is the birth rate. Is this what it looks like in Taiwan?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. The result of this is the number of universities that are closing. This shows the number of universities that have closed in each of the past few years. So look at the trend overall is universities are closing. We see every day when we open the newspaper or open the news in the United States, we read about another university or college just closing its doors. I know you had a very successful merger here, good business decision probably, but the result in the United States often is that colleges and universities just close. They don't change quickly enough. So my estimation is that leaders want things to be the way they were before, but the students don't want to go back. So that's a big challenge for all of us. So what do we do about that? The reality is students in the United States, at least, want to go online. They want maximum flexibility. Maybe they want in-person, but they also want online. So maybe institutions are supporting the faculty. Let me ask everybody here, if you're teaching online in some way, did you have a formal training program before teaching online?
No.
Okay. So yeah. But this is typical for higher education, isn't it? Self-training. That's right. We're very good at learning. Nobody helps us learn how to teach, but you have a center of teaching and learning here. So you have some support here. So what's happening in the United States? In 2020, when we had to make the big change, 97% of universities said we had to use professors with no teaching, no online experience. Only 50% said we use professors with some online teaching experience. At College of the Canyons in 2020, 50% of our professors had formal certificates in online teaching before the pandemic. So it was pretty easy for us to make the change. Fast forward to 2023. This is just a microcosm of higher education in the United States. But you know, California is the largest state in the US. Our community colleges, with 115 community colleges, we are the largest system of higher education in the world, serving 2 million students. The California State University, it's the largest public university system in the United States. So before the pandemic, training was not required everywhere. Today, it's required before you can teach online. In fact, at our institution, before you can even use the learning management system, you have to complete a training course before you can even use it. So here's an example, a few examples from College of the Canyons, but this is pretty typical. It's pretty typical for all of U.S. higher education. During the pandemic, we just gave thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of training, more than we had before. The result was that the success rates of our students increased. During the first year of the pandemic, more students were succeeding. It sounds crazy. When the world was going crazy, everyone was stressed. We were bringing in new professors to teach online, but they all went through our training program, and the data tells us student success went up. So a quick question for you to think about. Do you know at your universities how your students in online classes succeed compared to your students in other classes? It's very helpful for us to know that. We look at that in the United States. We look at race and ethnicity, but also by age, by gender, by their financial situation. So we can think about the different types of students who are in our classrooms and if they're succeeding, and then we use that to change our training to adjust to the problems that we see.
So how do you define the success of students?
Yes,
Pass
thank
the course
you.
or?
Yes. So in the United States, and this is pretty general across the whole United States higher education, there are two big measures that we use. One we call success. That means completing the class with a grade, it's an American term, a grade of C or better. Okay. So in the American system we have A, B, C. What is it in Taiwan? The top grade, and so it's like the third grade.
At most universities use this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So completing with C or better, that is success. Completing and a passing grade. Retention tells us how many students made it to the end of the term, end of the semester. So those are the two primary things we look at. So our students staying in the class and our students earning a good grade. Yeah. So for us, that number went up. Okay. And of course, in the United States, we're obsessed with race and ethnicity. So the example you see on the screen looks at students who were tracking by race and ethnicity. That's one of the areas that we focus on. So what does our training program look like? Again, the details are from College of the Canyons, but this is very typical of what we see across higher education. We have three essential components. First, learning the technology. So I said a training course in the learning management system, a training course in accessibility, so for students who might have a hearing impairment or a visual impairment. Professors can complete that course by themselves, clicking through, self-paced, or facilitated, so with an instructor. The second major component, and really the most important component, is learning the pedagogy. There's a great body of literature about the difference between learning theories that we employ on campus and learning theories we employ in the online classroom. Different tools for communicating, of course, discussions, we have videos, we have lots of apps, we can do group work, all of the things that we know from in-person classes. How do you adapt that to the online classroom? It's very important that we understand supporting online students, right? If we're talking about supporting the professors, what about the students? Just because students play video games online, because they use dating apps, it doesn't mean they're good students online. They need to understand how to be students online. And this training is always facilitated. It's a traditional class with a professor or a colleague teaching that. The most important element is that it's fully online, so that you experience what it's like to be an online student, right? I look around the room, we have many younger colleagues here. Maybe you had the experience of being an online student. But then people my age, I never took an online class when I was studying. So we have to experience it ourselves so that we develop empathy with our students, right? or we believe that's a key element. We believe that's a very important element. Here are some more details about the training, emphasizing that this is required before you even teach online. Our introduction to the learning management system and accessibility, that's, for us, that's 4 hours, small. The introduction to the learning theory and the pedagogy, that's 36 hours. That's the equivalent of a real class for us. That's a real class. Some professors fail the class. Most professors pass the class, but some fail. It's a real class. It's hard. If you want to teach a Zoom class, there's a special training for teaching the Zoom class. And every 3 years, you have to do training again. Because technology changes, learning theory changes, and also regulations change, policy changes. And I'll talk about policy a little bit later. We spent the last 2 years talking about policy. It changes all the time. Also, the question of compensation or pay, that's a question for every institution that every institution will answer differently, of course. At our institution, we pay the professors to complete the training. We believe it's that important. It's so important for the success of our students that we invest the financial resources to train our faculty. We also provide ongoing resources for our faculty. After you complete the training, we have many self-paced courses that are online for you to work through on your own, go back and look at, get new updates. On the left-hand side, for example, you'll see we have created course templates or example courses, master courses that professors can download and start using immediately. Our team, have designed those courses with sort of the perfect implementation of best practices. And then we give them to the professors, and then they can start teaching more quickly. They don't have to worry about building the room, right? The professor did not build this room. Somebody else built this room who specializes in this. But underneath all of our training, the essential element is the human relationship. We talk about humanizing online education. Humanizing when the professors see this as human beings, not as a number. We know that brain science tells us when people feel cared for, when people feel recognized as human beings, the chemicals in their brain give them happy feelings. If people feel alone in a new situation, they feel scared. So how do we do that online? We want our students to have happy chemicals in their brain, to feel engaged. We train our professors to ask these questions when they're teaching online. You can't walk into the classroom and say, hey, how are you? Good to see you, my old friend, right? You can't do that as easily. So how do you do that online? How do you make the students feel connected online? How do you show them that you're a human being online? This is sort of the foundation of all of our training. We ask all of our professors to have a welcome page. The very first page of your class, when the student clicks, should be welcoming. Hello, I'm a human being. It's me. Welcome to my class. Here's a picture of me with my dog, with my baby, something, right? Maybe it's a video. Maybe it's a video every week, 30-second video every week. But letting them know that you're a human being and not a robot. We ask our faculty to survey the students at the beginning. I'll talk about that in a second. And how do you give feedback that supports students so that they're not getting feedback from a robot, they're getting feedback from a human being. But let's be real, that's a lot of work, right? It's very easy to write a computer program to check the code that the student submits. It's very easy to use AI to check the essay now, right? It's very easy. But that doesn't make the student feel connected. So how do we do that? We ask our professors to survey the students with these kinds of questions before the class or at the beginning of the class so that they know, what name do you want me to call you? What could be a barrier for your success? Do you have an illness? Are you caring for a parent? Are you working 2 jobs? Do you have a reading disability? What is it about you that I should know? Et cetera, et cetera. So we provide this model of a survey to all of our professors to use in their online classes so that they can start to know their students. And it's not just the community colleges or college academies that think this is important. During the pandemic, so last year, Harvard convened a task force on the future of teaching and learning, and Harvard faculty, Harvard professors said that they want to add elements to their classes. These elements are mirrors of what I was just talking about. They want more interactive elements. Harvard professors want collaborative learning, peer learning, human beings working together. Harvard professors also want to bring in guest experts, human beings, right? So it's not just community colleges talking about this, it's your peer institution like Harvard is talking about this too. And at the core, I said this yesterday, and I will say, I said this in 2018 when I was here, we are engaged in a fight for our existence as professors. If we can be replaced by robots, the government, the ministry, and the university leadership will replace us with robots. It's cheaper, it's easier. The robots don't complain. You don't have to pay pensions, you don't have complaints, you don't, so many problems. Professors make so many problems. Really? Am I right? You can't pay. So it's so much easier to have a robot teach your class. So how do we make sure that human beings are important? Well, let's be human beings in our teaching and show the universities that our students succeed more when they use human beings. Okay, we also have to support students. We do this in many ways at college academies. I'll talk about each of these. We provide our students with a survey before they start to see, are you the right person to take an online class? Do you know how to use software? Do you like to read? Do you like to communicate in writing? All of these skills that you have to use in an online class. So if the student answers yes to all of these, probably you're a good candidate for online learning. We also asked our professors to write a letter, a personal letter to students. We post it online. Students go look at it online. And the letter says, hello, welcome to my class. My class is this. This is different than my on-campus class. I am this human being. Do you need special software? Do you need special tools? So that students know before they start, is this a good class for them? We provide many guides for our students to understand the online classroom, many screenshots and videos so that they know how to work around in the online classroom. Again, because students are doing online dating or online shopping or online gaming, it does not mean that they know how to be an online student. So we help them with that. We provide support, 24/7 support for our students if they get stuck. Most students are working at night. Most professors are not working at night. So we want the students to keep moving during the class. If they're working at midnight, we want them to keep on going. We don't want them to wait until morning to get a solution. But all of this takes a big team. So we invest in a team. All colleges and universities in the United States that have successful online programs have a team dedicated to online teaching. Maybe it works with the Office of Academic Affairs, maybe it works with the Center for Teaching, maybe it works with the Center for Innovation or Center for E-Learning, but there are somewhere in the organization there is a team dedicated to all of this that I'm talking about. This is what our team looks like at College of the Canyons. So working for me, under me, we have a full-time director. Her only job is Director of Online Education. She has staff We have one staff who focuses on supporting students. We have one staff who focuses on supporting faculty. We have one person, one staff who takes care of the learning management system. We have an instructional designer who helps make things pretty and trains us on the newest technology. And then we have a team of people who are working on OER, searching for OER, publishing OER. And I'll say, this is not a very big team. I need more. I'm looking at my colleague here. I need more staff. But this is sort of the minimum that we have for an institution of our size. We have around 30,000 students. So in our world, we're a medium-sized institution. We're not big, we're not small, 30,000. We have, let me think, 220 full-time professors and around 400 part-time professors.
Actually, no, 782. I have to do a report for 782 part-time.
700 part-time?
782.
Okay, almost 800 part-time professors and 220 full-time professors. So this team is not large enough, but I want to again say that in order to do the support that I'm talking about, all of these things that we're talking about, we need to have a team. So I hope that the dean will take that message, you know, that it's not cheap, it's not free to have a strategic approach, to take a strategic approach to student success. It's not cheap. Okay, lots of other things are changing. The formats are changing. 2019, life was easy, hybrid, online, in person, and then institutions like yours and your peer institutions have MOOCs. 2023, we've got a lot more going on. A lot of Zoom classes, live classes via Zoom. But I want to spend a minute talking about HiFlex, that this is the new trend. And actually, this room, this very handsome room, is set up very well for a HiFlex class. HiFlex is the option for students to have maximum choice. The professor is always in the classroom. The professor is here every day. Students choose. Do they come in person or are they online? We are doing a HiFlex Symposium right now. The difference is, in a HiFlex class, the colleagues or the students who are online, they would be displayed on a big screen so we could see them and interact with them. We would have microphones and speakers so that the colleagues online could participate in the discussion, and we're all of us going back and forth. If I'm here writing the tablet and displaying it on the computer screen, it's also displayed online so that the students online can participate and they're feeling engaged. Again, this gives maximum flexibility to students. Maybe they're working, maybe they have an illness, maybe they have a child they have to take care of, but it's maximum flexibility. This is what a HiFlex classroom might look like. Again, this room is set up very well for that. We might add a big screen, a big monitor here so we can display the online students, maybe some microphones so that we can hear each other. But this room is really nicely set up for it. For scheduling, it's kind of challenging. Get to know where it fits in the institution. How do we categorize it? What kind of class is it? But it's very popular in the United States right now. Again, because of the maximum flexibility for students. We also have policies and procedures around online learning. We have to define it. What is it? Can the professors just do anything they want? Can they be on campus sometimes, online sometimes? Or is there a structure for them? And what do students understand it to be? When we say students, you're taking an online class, how do they understand that? And assessment, how do we do assessments online? We know how to watch the students in the class. We know if we bring them into a lab and they're writing code in the lab, we know that that code was written in a secure environment. If they're writing an essay on campus, we know that was done in a secure environment. What about online? How do we test that? How do we observe that online? There's not an easy answer to that. With our policies, I said before, the policy says training is required before you teach online. You have to use the institution's LMS. You cannot be the great inventor and invent your own LMS and use that. Congratulations if you wrote your own LMS, but the students use the university's LMS. It's a university classroom. Interaction is required. This is required by state law in California and by federal law in Washington, D.C., that there must be interaction all the time. We have to document the interaction. The auditors come and check. They will look inside of our online classes to see, was there a communication between the professor and the students every week, every chapter, every module. So we have to be doing that. What does that mean? These are examples of what interaction means, and this is taken from federal law and state law. Actually, word for word, this is what we have to demonstrate. What about assessments? Holy cow. Assessments are challenging sometimes. The way I think about assessments, and some of the literature talks about assessments, is pro. Make the assessments pro assessments. So personal, is it something that only you could do? Right? It's something that's coming from you as a human being. Make it relevant. It's relevant to a topic today. It's relevant to the news today. It's relevant to your institution, your city, your situation. Ask for an opinion. I'm arguing in one way, I'm arguing in another way. In other words, the assessment should ask that students do something that you can't copy online, right? It hasn't been done 50 times before, and you can just buy the essay or copy the essay, or the computer code even, right? If you're writing computer code, the lower level code, maybe the lower level code, it's not so important if it's original, but when you're getting to the final execution of the program, you want to be sure that the higher level code is speaking to a unique situation, a unique case study, a unique scenario. Also, as a practical matter, beyond the theory, our colleagues often will provide assessments that are timed. There's a time limit. You can't take, all day. It's 1 hour. It's open or it's closed. Interpersonal. You might have to do the assessments in a group, right? So you're working in a group. And practical. Is it something that can be demonstrated, that is useful to industry? Is it solving a problem for industry? Is it creating something that you can show people? So is it hands-on? At the end, you have something that students really want to do. It's not just theory, it's something that students will want. They want a copy of it because it's interesting. So this is just the way I think about it in my head, but some of the literature also talks about the pro tip assessment. Now, talking about assessing our intelligence, now we come to the fun topic of AI. Holy smokes. This is a challenge for all of us. Start off with some art. One person knows. So what can you tell us about this photograph, sir?
It's an AI generated photo.
Yeah. Yes. And what's so interesting about this being an AI generated photo?
It's the champion of the song competition.
Yes. This photo won the global award, the Global Sony Photography Award, just last month, I think.
Yeah.
As the best photo in the entire world. And then the creator refused the award, right? And yet, this photograph exists. It exists in the world. It's here. It's interesting. I want to look at it. It makes me think. It's here. There's no denying. So let's be sure we understand what we're talking about. ChatGPT is just a product, right? It's one product. They have the best marketing team, right? They have a great marketing team, but there are many other products out there, right? Every day there's a new AI product. This is one type of AI, generative AI. Again, the computer scientists here, they know this, so tell me if I say the wrong thing. But generative AI is a large language model drawing on a body of text, a corpus of text, a corpus of knowledge that is defined, With ChatGPT, we don't know what that body of knowledge is. Maybe it's Reddit or Facebook. Maybe it's Wikipedia. We don't know. ChatGPT copies the patterns. It detects the patterns, copies the patterns, and it predicts what word will come next. Right? So we're all on the same page.
And in a sense, it's already so many years ago, 6 generations ago of the iPhone. When you type, you kind of predict potentially what next word might be.
Yes.
Or like if you spell it wrong,
yes.
potentially wrong, and it will just autocorrect. That's already generative AI.
Exactly.
We just don't think it that way.
Exactly. Well, as we see here, we have all used AI today. Every single one of us has used AI today somehow, right? Maybe some of you or your students made these tools, right? Of course, Hsinchu is a world leader in technology, and you have a strong presence in AI. So this might be your work here. But it's also important for us to understand there's no intelligence, right? There's no sense of true or false. And if the sources or the corpus is biased, if the corpus is filled with racism or Western worldview, that's what the output will be too, right? So what do we see in the United States? First of all, the reaction was, oh my God, what are we going to do? It's the end of education. Then we saw, for a short period of time, we have to ban it. Hey, Dean, make a rule against it, please. Get rid of it. Nobody can use it. Well, what do you that's not possible. It exists. It exists. Like the photograph. The photograph exists in the world. We can't ban it. We hope people are learning. Well, we know people are learning. A lot of seminars, a lot of research, a lot of publications, a lot of discussion. I hope we're in the phase of improving and adapting and preparing our students. You know this in Hsinchu. Your students will have great opportunities to work if they're understanding AI, right? This is the future market, future. But in the classroom and in society, we don't have social norms yet. We don't know if it's cheating or if it's a helpful tool, because we haven't made a rule about it, but we also don't understand it as a society. We see a lot of adaptations. The journal Nature, right, which is the top research publication in the world, they already have in their author statement, they've established a rule. ChatGPT is not an author, but you can acknowledge it. Use of an LLM should be properly documented in methods. It's a tool in the methods section. So identify it. So that leads me to think about our classrooms. How do we tell our students? When can you use it? When can you not use it? How should you acknowledge it? Is it in your methods section? Is it in your bibliography? If you are using it, which tool is it? Is it ChatGPT or one of the other many tools? What are the data inputs for the tool you chose? If you're choosing this tool, is it just taking information from Facebook, or is it taking information from Wikipedia? That's going to give you a different result. Be transparent. Tell me, tell your classmates, how are you using it? So let me pause here. I still have more to share, but I'm curious, at your universities, have you established rules? Are there norms? What's the discussion at your university, Tony?
Probably we are staying the positive side of using AI, and we have a practical guidelines in teaching, learning, assessment, and hold competition and workshop for students to learn and use it and make it transparent, like using put it in a footnote or put in a method or something like that.
Wonderful.
I want to see that too.
Yes, yes.
Probably today or tomorrow there will be a newsletter. Yeah, and we will document that in both Chinese and English version.
Wonderful. Please send us the link. Sure. We want to use it. How did you get to that point? Was it a big discussion? Was it easy?
Not easy, but actually from the release of the ChatGPT, our presidential office asked our dean to have a task force, And in that task force, we invite like professors from all the colleges who are familiar with AI. And we also have student groups like discuss with it. And in that task group, I try to organize people's ideas. And because I was trained in educational technology, so we put some perspective on educational technology to help them into practical guidelines. And through these guidelines, we hope to help like our faculties able to be familiar with that. And even when we design any assessments with ChatGPT or any other AI, we want them to test it. Yeah, to use that to have more exploration and more discussion about how to use it. Because like our dean of Tsai Ing-jun, he said that he used the generated answers to discuss with the different students about how ChatGPT's perspective is different from the theoretical perspective. So I believe that we will invite more case studies to help our faculties understand how to use it. But from the side of a teaching and learning center, we also hold like several workshop and seminars like Midjourney and ChatGPT, and we will have a one-day workshop to teach our faculty and students how to use it. And we will hold competitions next semester to invite more connections, not just from Tsinghua, but from other universities in Taiwan to join together to learn how to use it. Because like collaborative in using those tools, that is the the future of how to prepare students in the future workplace.
Wow, that's fantastic. Bravo.
And I know that in Yangming Jiaoda, probably you also hold Zhou Qian Lao Shi to invite like faculties to discuss how to co-living with AI. So I think like in Taiwan, we very hard to treat every STEM to keep on focusing on those issues. Yes.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, I think similar things happens in YCU.
Yes.
And we had some several forums with professors and also with students to reach a consensus that we encourage professors and students to use AI tools properly. Later, we have already set up a practice guideline for students and professors.
Wow, we need to send our professors here. This is wonderful. We're still, honestly, we're still very much at the learning and adapting phase. I know a small number of institutions that have documented guidelines, but we certainly do not have that at our institution. Yeah, we're still in the stage of learning about it. Maybe, Jai, I wonder if I could ask you to say a few words about your role at the college. One of your roles is to work with students who are accused of cheating. So, and I know we've discussed some situations in which you've had to work with students who are accused of cheating with ChatGPT. Could you say a couple of words?
Of course, thank you. So one of my roles as a dean is student conduct. And usually we're on the side. We tend to be seen as the bad guys, but we are just there to listen to the students and the professor. So when professors suspect any form of cheating or academic dishonesty, we send forward to something called student conduct committee. And then based on such, they would assign they believe the deans may have the expertise in the field. Because I happen to be English faculty department chair prior to my role as a dean of international education. So I often get what we call the plagiarism, copying, texting, copying without citation. So one case was sent forward, and that's one of the very first cases sent forward by a professor saying that they should use ChatGPT because I run through the patient work and chat 0, and then it says 95% of the text most likely was generated by AI. So that's the word that they would use. So professor, this discussion board, this essay, this discussion board, this essay, and so forth. So I look at that, and then one thing what I did is I run, as many of you have done, I run my own writing through the same software program the professor used, and it also says my writing was generated by AI. So kind of understanding that, I called the student in. And talked to the student said, no, I wrote it myself. I said, okay. And so what I did was I actually had the student come in and then just sit there and then type, analyzing literature, a piece of poem by Emily Dickinson. And then I said, the student could write. I said, okay, so you have the ability to write. However, but I haven't done the expertise right. I look at the writing. Each one of us have our writing footprints. How we use comma, semicolon, period, is different. We're all educated people here, but how I use a semicolon or not is very different from James when he writes it. So as the student wrote right there without internet, just write it and then compare to what she submitted. I asked her, I said, kind of different style. I said, can you explain to me why the text you submitted in this style and then why you submitted, why you just wrote right now in this style? She said, I did get online. That's when she started to come out, and I said, okay. I said, but those are my ideas. Those are my words. I said, okay. So that's it's a bit convoluted. As you know, AI would come up with a quote that's similar to they believe the writer that you need to write about. It was uncovered, of course, that quote was not by Benjamin Franklin that she was supposed to write about by someone else. That, as you see, it predicts the style, right? The style is similar, but nowhere in the text has that person. So the reason I go to detail of it is we spend so much resources trying to catch student cheating. And I think that resource could be better redirected to talk to the student and say how they can better use it properly. And then work with the professor as to what extent that you want to incorporate AI to your next semester teaching. This semester, everything that's not your words, not cited, is considered academically sound. And because we have course policy, and then we have student action and the result. So in this semester, cases like that, we have adjudicate based on course policy and what students want. However, I think the best way would be first, when I call the student in, letting them know that there will be false positives. I understood that. The student will know, okay, I'm not there to judge her, to punish her, to make it just they're not criminals. What they want is the best grades possible. What they want to have a better future. So if we keep putting their actions as if they have committed some crime in the academic field, that's how we drive students away. So after I talked with the student, I asked her to reach out to the professor so they should come to some kind of consensus. The rest of the story doesn't matter as much, but what I have here was students feel so relaxed and she was willing to share with me a lot more what she was going through instead of dropping the class, because USU could drop the class. Instead of dropping the class, because she understood that I said, okay, this someone is listening to me. And I could use this tool, I just need to communicate with the professor. And the professor also needs to do a better job in establish the course policy to what extent AI can be used. 100% banning it is not going to work. As I use AI, right? Any one of us using our resume template from Microsoft, that's generated. I mean, and then as James was telling me, Microsoft already has AI embedded, which previous already, it is not to the extent that we see it today. So we are struggling in some ways, very much like at the beginning of the summer, at the beginning of the pandemic, some professors were struggling with online teaching, but later now they're all embrace it, and they actually, many of them prefer to come to teach online. Similarly, I think in a year or two, because as AI runs fast, I hope we'll run as fast in terms of course policy as what AI is leading to the next generation of education.
We need to follow the example of Taiwan higher education and develop policies and communicate them clearly to our students. That's
and also to the faculties. Yeah, you cannot ban students. It's very, very difficult to ban students, but you can teach your faculty how to face it.
Yes, at 100%. I agree with you all 100%. and this is as Jai was saying, many of you know,
Yes.
ChatGPT or a version of ChatGPT is already a tool in Microsoft Office. It's being tested now, but in a few months' time, all of us will be using it in all of our activities. So if we ban it, oh my goodness, we are going to give students one more reason to leave us. And as I noted at the beginning, we already have students leaving us. Lower birth rate, no flexibility in teaching, right? We need to embrace it as you have done in order to remain relevant to our students. I want to share a new publication from UNESCO providing ideas about using artificial intelligence in higher education. Tony, you should be a co-author on this. It has lots of great information. Even I know this is very small, but this is an example of ideas about using AI in education, in the classroom, in teaching.
Some
Yes.
faculties are using the ChatGPT in their classes.
Yes. Yes. Here are some examples that I shared of how maybe we could use it. How are your faculty using it? In what way are you using?
Not myself, our colleagues.
Professor Jing Wu, yeah, she asks, he used the ChatGPT as part of the homework assignments in his statistics class. So what he does is to ask the student to document all the process, how he come to the ChatGPT to help, as well as how he comes to his classmates to help.
Yes.
And he can compare the result, the AI as a learning companion, does the tool really help, or what kind of the combinations, probably student with AI, or student with students, or student with AI itself. Yeah, how the dynamics of the social interaction, or maybe a part of a community with AI, what the dynamics happen in this class. I think that his study is really interesting.
That's really wonderful. Yeah, that's what we should all be doing.
Yeah, and we ask students to read the papers, and I ask the student to ask ChatGPT to get a summary of the paper, and then compare whether they are correct or wrong. Yeah, to compare the generated summary and the actual information.
Yeah, that's perfect. This is perfect. Yeah, we need to send our professors here to learn from you about this. This is really advanced for us. This is very advanced. So I congratulate you.
The dean of the law school told me that they will have a course in the next semester to teach students how to use ChatGPT to generate official documents for lawsuits.
Yes.
Because the laws, they are all very standard, regular.
It's static. Yeah,
static.
it's not changing.
Yeah,
quickly.
that's
Yes.
right. Yeah.
Yes. Excellent idea. Excellent idea.
Actually, nowadays we also use ChatGPT to generate some material because like professors really don't have the time to write their, scripts and notes on FutureLearn because we partner with FutureLearn, and in that platform, the FutureLearn access to provide articles like instructional articles, and to tell the truth, the professors really don't have the good time to write those articles, so we use their transcript, their PPT. To generate articles and ask the TA and teacher to review it to us open educational resources.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So that is examples, and we also like me, I teach like big data and teaching R. So I ask my students to, if they cannot find the answer, ask GPT. But when they are doing tasks, they are in class, so they can really test and try and error to see how can they solve a problem with the help with ChatGPT and their partners.
Yeah. That's one. Yeah. Wonderful. Wonderful. I think you're absolutely correct. Time saving, but with the human review.
Yes.
Right. We want to keep the humans involved. I'll share this. I'll leave the PowerPoint, of course, for you. There are some other resources here with resources about teaching. Many other resources about teaching that is being crowdsourced by professors all over the world. I'll close with what I hope is a good translation. only the wisest and stupidest of men never change, right?
Confucius.
We must keep changing. We must keep changing. I'm so grateful to be here and to learn from you today. So with that, let's open up for questions or comments or